Hello, welcome to Access Astrology. We are three astrologers who get together every week, have a look at the sky, see what's going on, have a look around us on the earth, see how they're linked, and we also take calls. Well, not calls live, but you can send your information, your birth information to us, and we'll take a look at your chart. So be sure to do
Yes.
that. And my name is Mark Waltz. I'm talking to you tonight from New Paltz, New York, just up the river from New York City. And I'm joined by.
I'm Ann Ortley, and I'm lying here on my bed in my pink bedroom because my legs were a little swollen from working too much today, walking too much. So I thought
Mm.
I'm gonna put them up and do the podcast sitting on the bed. So that's where I am, New York City. Yay!
And this is Heather Rowan Robbins speaking to you from Ronan, Montana, just west of the major mountains here, sort of between the mountains in a valley, and loving it. And we have putting up the chart for today. Today, we're moving into that grand trine in air signs. Mars has just entered Libra. I just entered Libra and trining Pluto and Uranus, which is going to be sort of the dominant theme for the next week. And that Mars also opposes bow and arrow, forms a kite with the Saturn-Neptune conjunction down here at the bottom of the chart. Sun and Mercury in Leo. Mercury is still retrograde, turns direct on Monday. Woohoo! And we're looking forward to that.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the things that's softening it, this whole process, is that Venus is approaching a conjunction with Jupiter, which can bring in extra kindness and make food delicious. It can also bring up a lot of extra emotions, and sometimes we see, crimes of passion when those two come together. But hopefully it will help soften and open our hearts. That's my quick take on it. Anne, what are you seeing for this
Well,
week?
I'm always really curious about that Mars Saturn opposition, right? So we're gonna
Mm-hmm,
have that
mm-hmm.
for a few days, and it's the first time Mars has made a up. Saturn just went into Aries in March, so this is the first time they've met in 90 since 96 when last time Saturn was in Aries. So this is going to bring up some old stuff, and of course it is Mercury retrograde, so I find a lot of people are doing old processing with things, like old
Mm-hmm.
memories, old ideas. And the Mars Saturn opposition it's a war energy, but it also is a block. Like I want to go forward, but I'm feeling blocked.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a lot of people looking at, because of course the moon's been in Virgo applying to it, right? So it's on a world
Capricorn.
point.
Mm-hmm.
The sun is on a world point, 15 Leo. So it's going to be pretty decent. And of course, Saturn is right next to a world point. So it's a decent conflictual energy in the sense of I have had it. I am done. I'm not doing this anymore. And I can't
Mm-hmm.
tell you the number of people that have been in long suffering situations and now they're like, I'm just not doing it anymore.
Yep.
I'm done. And
Mm.
and that's the Mars opposite the Saturn. So it's a opposition, but what
Mm-hmm.
it says is it looks to the Venus in Cancer, and of course the Moon is in Capricorn out of bounds.
Mm-hmm.
So the
Mm-hmm.
Capricorn Moon says to the Saturn, "How you feeling about this?" And and Saturn's like, "Arr." And then the Venus in Cancer, which rules the North Node, rules the Mars, says, "Well, why don't you just love it and leave it? Just leave."
I'm seeing that, yeah,
Yeah,
also as Mercury retrogrades back
yes,
to within 2 degrees of an exact opposition to Pluto.
right,
And it was at this point at the end of June, and we've seen so many deaths since
yeah,
then.
yeah, yeah.
And also people just getting ready for the next chapter.
Mm-hmm,
That's what I
mm-hmm.
feel. There's so many planets have changed signs this year. Many people are ready for the next chapter as the new instructions are coming in, but it may not be falling into place quite yet because
Right,
those planets are retrograding. They're going to retrograde back through the fall. We're still doing the cleanup work and preparation, but we're kind of getting the instructions, like big change. And that was the question for all of our clients tonight, the people that called in. two out of the three are, should I make a major change or just a little change right now? And I'd say, get ready to make a major change. This is the time to plan that out, but to plan it out rather than
Leap
just
into
kind
it.
of,
Yeah.
yeah, right. Because the discomfort can lead us do that.
But it also is you kind of have had whatever the problem is, you've had enough of it and you don't want to
Yep.
stay there anymore,
Right. Right.
So
Yeah, and
whereas normally you
Saturn,
compromised and backed down or you said, well, whatever, now you're like, no, didn't mean to interrupt. What'd you
sure.
say?
Yeah, Saturn being in Aries
Mm-hmm.
says, how can we speed this up? It's
Right.
not something Saturn usually says, but
Mm-hmm.
in Aries, it's how can we speed it up? And Mars says, here's how. And that's when something gets severed,
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
Mars will say, I'll show you what's in the way. So, and the problem is you're not using your Aries.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if you begin to use it, it makes it easy to make whatever separation has to be made in order
Right.
that you can step forward.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very freeing energy.
Yeah.
And then there's a grand trine that is welcoming us to the other side of whatever that separation is.
Yeah. It's like, what would it look like if you were free?
Mm-hmm.
I had an interesting reading with someone yesterday, and her dad had passed when she was 9, and she has pictures of him, and
Mm.
she noticed in the pictures, it's Mercury retrograde in Leo, right? She noticed in the pictures that he was looking at her adoringly, and it was one of her favorite pictures. And then she noticed he was looking at her in another picture, and she said, so I went back and looked at all the pictures, and even when I was on his shoulder, he was looking at me adoringly, and I never noticed that before. I never I mean, these were my favorite pictures, the two, but every picture he was looking at me adoringly. And it just kind of reframed so much for me because it shifted. And that's that grand trine, the critical detail, the Mars and Virgo, but trining the Uranus, trining the Pluto, watch for awakenings, watch for Mercury to go, well, didn't you see it? And you were like, and she, in her case, she hadn't, but there was the evidence, right?
Mm.
And that's the kind of the metaphor for what we're going through now is like, didn't you see it? No, I never did. Well, now that you've seen it, now what do you want to do? Right.
Right.
So,
And that
yeah.
Yeah.
certainly has its political implications. That
Yes.
very pattern.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm seeing that Mars, Uranus, Pluto grand trine. Grand trines always act like a cyclotron. They get the energy really zing, zing, zing between it. And can get stuck there sometimes, but it's really a conceptual shift that,
Yes.
that Uranus and Pluto are going to be talking together on and off for a couple of years here. But
Mm-hmm.
this, when Mars hits that corner, it says, and now we want to put our philosophy into action. It's air
Mm-hmm.
sign, so I want to talk about it, but I want to believe in it. I want to put our philosophies into action, and I want to take action on our philosophies. Mercury
Right.
retrograde saying not yet, wait till next week, but it's still, we can feel that momentum building, and it's a philosophical understructure, as you said. Now that you've seen it, how can you not see it? How can you miss what's going on, which is
Mm-hmm.
pretty profound.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I have a good friend who is a movie person, worked in film and editing, and going to a movie with her is a very different experience than like which I just go to the movie and watch it. And she's
Mhm.
watching the cuts and she's watching what happened and this shifts in the way the film was edited and what they did. And it's like a whole different level of looking.
Mhm.
So that's
Mhm.
the other thing with Mars and Libra. It's a different way of perceiving things, and because it's answering to a very kind Venus in Cancer, and it's answering to a very kind Jupiter in Cancer, it allows us to soften the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also the Mars Saturn it can be really rage kind of popping out of nowhere, where you're like, I'm enraged, and you go, okay, I got it. What's going on over there? So
And that Venus Jupiter conjunction in Cancer, I've also seen a Venus Jupiter conjunction at some of the worst crimes against women. That it's, people that are so angry that they don't have someone to love. Instead of going out and working on being lovable, they take guns and shoot. And so that problem is a real issue, and I'm hoping that we don't see that this weekend. But I would watch, that it turns the volume up on feelings. Usually they're kind
Yeah.
feelings,
Hmm.
but watch it when any emotion gets strong. This is the tight kite on the um, morning of the full
Full
moon.
moon.
That'll be about 3:40 in New York, 1:40 here, with the Aquarius, and that Aquarius Leo. It's often the best party night of the year. If you can,
Hmm.
this Friday and Saturday, if you can just have a great time with your friends,
Hmm.
participate in a demonstration, fabulous. But that energy can really get so that it's hard to move forward with it. That I see it's the fight against, it's really the king versus the people. That Leo Aquarius,
Hmm. Hmm.
how do we center ourselves and be part of the group? How do we honor the people's needs and the individual's needs? There are a lot of things that get highlighted by this full moon,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
it's right in there in that T square. I mean, that's that Saturn Neptune exactly opposite the Mars at the time of it. So things will be moving and shaking this weekend.
Hmm.
We're seeing tectonic plates shifting all around the world with this both. Mars Saturn opposition with all the planet and the Uranus and the Grand Trine. I think that we're going to continue to see those. Again, I hope there's lots of little earthquakes and no big ones.
Hmm.
There's
Yep.
also a mystic rectangle in this chart, which is an interesting setup. It's two sextiles
Mhm.
and two oppositions, and they all work together to make something unusual. So it's a very intuitive kind of energy.
Hmm. Yeah. Really
Uh,
an interesting harnessing of wanting to harness the energy, right?
Yeah,
mhm. And I think of it as a good planning time. Next week, we're leaping forward. We'll talk a lot more about that on Tuesday, but it's really going to be time to leap forward. But planning, getting the information, thinking about it, tuning on it is a good thing to do this weekend.
Yeah.
And let's put up a few of the charts that we have because we are still running a backlog. This is Suzanne's chart, and we have her three wheels. And she said she enjoys us, which is lovely. Just general insights into her chart and anything coming up in the future to work with. And she is born in New Zealand. So I'm so glad she likes our. We've got a lot of Southern Hemisphere people, which is lovely.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and we see, when the first thing I look at these days is what do they have planets in early degrees of the sign because they are getting hammered. So we've got Saturn and Neptune or struck like a harpsichord. It's not necessarily hammered. But the Saturn and Neptune are coming to conjunct her Mars over the next couple of months and years, over this whole year. And I see that as the strongest aspect. What would you like to say to her about this Libra with a Leo rising, moon in Aquarius? It looks like the full moon will be sort of halfway between her sun and uh, those degrees, but she'll be feeling it. Pluto's approaching her sun, but it's going to take another year.
Right. Couple
yeah,
years.
a
Yeah.
couple of years. Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And so her progressed moon is in Scorpio at 6 degrees, and her and the sun has just crossed her ascendant. Do you
Hmm.
have anything that you'd like to say to her?
Well, I think, to your point, she has a lot of planets at the low numbers. Her
Hmm.
Mars is there, her midheaven's there,
Her
her
Saturn?
Neptune is there. So she's, with Uranus going over the midheaven a couple of times, and kind
Hmm.
of activating her direction and career stuff. So that's a career sector change. Saturn in her eighth house, how she makes her money. That's inheritance. We're going to have Saturn go back over her Pluto. She's really working out issues of her value right now.
Hmm.
and then
Mhm.
she's born. Just back to that other one. What's is her Mercury stationary or retrograde?
Her
No,
Mercury
that's just
is,
house 6. Never
yeah,
mind.
just
Okay.
house
Yes.
6. Yeah, it's in
Okay.
Capricorn.
It's in
So she
Um,
Capricorn.
usually can work her way through things
Yeah,
with
pretty
that
well.
Mercury.
Hmm.
And it looks like that she feels comfortable in her, in making work changes and in service. And as long as her work is going well with Saturn at the midheaven and that loaded sixth, uh, she does well, but she could skip some of the emotional process that
Hmm.
she could kind of hide in her work and needs to make sure that she's living out those other places in her.
Yeah.
Nice rebellious Mars Uranus conjunction though, so no one's going to push her too far in any one direction.
Mars Chiron conjunction. You mean?
Mars Chiron conjunct oppose her Uranus.
Yeah. Hmm. Hmm. Okay.
I can't say things right while Mercury's retrograde. It's pretty funny.
I was just validating, just checking. I was like,
It's
wait,
no, it's good.
what am I saying? You know?
It's good. It's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
And
I think with all the planets at the baby numbers, she's just really getting, because you can feel like her old life is dissolving and restructuring,
mhm,
but there's no new life in, and
yet
certainly lots of
it will
changes
be
in the
soon, but yet.
workplace. Yeah, lots of changes in the workplace and what she does for her work,
Mhm,
professionally. So with Uranus on the midheaven, that starts a new 84-year cycle, but also the Uranus in the second house getting the opposition from the Mars, she's ready to make that change.
mhm,
So,
mhm,
and the eclipse that we have in September is right on her Pluto. So that's a big deal.
mhm.
Right on her natal Pluto. Yeah, on her Pluto at 20, the one on the 21st. So she's got big doings going on in her value and her relationship houses, so it's a big year of change
Yeah, I don't just.
when you have a nodal return. Yeah.
Mhm. And I would ask her to just kind of keep her eye on the prize.
Hmm.
There's so many changes with so many different instructions coming at us with all these planets hovering around the same degree. We can handle all the little things they throw at us if we know where we want to be going. What's on the other
Hmm.
side of this? Where do we want to
Right.
head with those changes?
Yeah. Yeah.
So on to Chelsea here. And Chelsea asks that she says, I can feel immense changes coming in, yet can't seem to orient or commit to any new path right now. Same question. I'm having trouble determining whether a series of small changes or massive, unrecognizable changes in order. Do you see any directions I should wholeheartedly pursue? What about anything I should avoid? Sending light and love.
Hmm. Okay.
And so we have someone who is got also that moon at 1 degree Aries, Venus at 3 degree Aries,
Hmm.
Sun at 4 degrees Taurus. So we again, it's those baby degrees that are sending people running to their astrologers
Yeah.
with for
Hmm.
good reason, because it is letting go of what was, but not giving you enough information yet about what will be.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
yeah, it's a chance to work with Aries a lot. You need to work with Aries, and you're getting a push in that direction. The Saturn Neptune at one Aries is working with your moon, and you really what you want to do is blend empathy with what you perceive a person needs. In other words, you may know what it is that other people around you need, but that doesn't help to say that. So have the empathy, and it'll come to you what needs to be said.
Hmm. And a
And
real focus on creativity this year for her because Jupiter's
Yeah.
going through her sixth. She is of childbearing age, so Saturn on the moon can be a baby coming in, or
mhm,
or a creative project. Doesn't have to be a
mhm,
baby,
mhm, mhm.
but there's a lot of energy there
A baby of
around
mind, body, or spirit. Yeah.
mind, body, or spirit. Yeah, because Jupiter in her fifth house plus the Saturn on her moon, which is there now, and then will be there again in end of February. So
And By progressions, her moon is in Leo. A progressed moon is in Leo in the 6th. Also, another question about, am I being appreciated enough at work? Which it looks pretty strong. Her progressed Saturn is right directly conjunct her midheaven, is retrograded back. And it looks to me like, that that lineup of planets that we have sitting right on her moon and Venus in the first house, that she's got some personal changes that she needs to make before it goes into the work changes. But the work changes are coming.
Yeah.
Think of those work changes, like if she's ready to make a completely unrecognizable change, and I think she would love to make a completely unrecognizable change. The Aries in here would love it. The Sun in Taurus would not. But they're combined together. I think it could really work for her. But do some planning now. Clear out what needs to be cleared before she does that big change. Prepare and aim for next spring when that Saturn and Neptune come back to her moon and Venus to make to step into her new sense of personal authority.
Yeah. Yep. And she's got progressed Jupiter coming to her Mercury, which is a work planet, a daily activities, a partnership planet, a second child planet, and also a career indicator and a philosophical direction. So it's a really big, it's a big initiation for you, Chelsea, in terms of what that new cycle wants to be. And that progressed moon is going to come and form a grand trine in fire with your Sag planets and your Aries planets, so that over the next 5-6 months, that you're going to just keep playing. What's her name's song? This girl is on fire.
It's
This
yeah,
girl is on
some
fire.
fire. Yep,
Hmm.
yep. I think you're right about that. That's going to be
Hmm.
pretty powerful.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and this is Alessandra who says, and when should I expect most likely to land a new job in the next 6 to 8 months? How does it look for me doing a career pivot within my current industry? Again, I want to make a change. I truly appreciate, let's see. Lastly, say hi to Anne, who I was honored to attend your Big Apple Astrology Meetup lecture in June.
Oh, cool. Great.
And she asked about you starting up classes. So,
Yep,
yeah.
yep. That's my fall agenda. I'm meeting with my web mistress this week. We're planning stuff, so that's good.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's wonderful.
Hmm.
Yeah. And there's a lot of announcements, astrological announcements that come out right after Mercury turns direct.
Yeah, Mercury goes direct. Everybody goes, announcement,
By the
announcement.
way, I'm doing this.
Right, right.
Yes, so a Scorpio with her Sun and Mercury at late degrees, but Sun really at late degrees of Scorpio. So Saturn and Neptune just went over that. They're going to come back and trine that again. I mean, they're going to trine it from Neptune up here, and then hit it again one more time, or like January of next year. So
Hmm.
it's a good trines, but they're certainly pushing her in work.
Yeah, they want you to get a new job.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm. And that Saturn, Neptune are coming up to her 3-degree Mars. We have
Hmm.
all three people tonight asked about work changes and have some planet at that early degree of
Of
Aries.
Mars. Yeah. And you do
So,
have Mars. You do have Mars square Saturn, so we're having the opposition this week. So this
mhm,
is actually a good time, to reach out to old people you used to work with and say, hey, I'm looking for work.
mhm,
Because it's Mercury retrograde and that Mercury in Leo. Generally people like you that work with you.
mhm, mhm,
So if you know people that are in the industry you're looking for, but I would say it's a big pivot because Saturn trines that Sun.
mhm,
Sure, it's an opening trine, and it
mhm,
says you've been
mhm,
working hard since you were
mhm,
29,
mhm,
and now we want to give you a little reward.
mhm.
So that would be my thought. Mark, what do you think?
You have that progressed moon at 9 Virgo, and it's lined up with your nodes.
Hmm. Hmm.
And when that happens, you really usually there's a big opportunity that can come in and
Right.
moves you from one place to another.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm. Hmm.
especially if you get an offer to, whether it's just vacation or whatever, to make a big change in location for anywhere from 2 weeks to 2 years, do it.
Mhm. And your progressed moon's been going through the bottom of your chart, and I always feels like that's a time of deep personal karma slogging. But once it entered Virgo, it's pushing you into, and now how do you take what you've just learned in your emotional process back into your work? So
Right.
I think that's going to be really exciting. And it's going to begin a change that continues as that Saturn and Neptune, they're retrograding back now and start to try to sit on that Mars, but that can be good. And trining, first they come back to trine this again, which they've already done once, and then come back. You've got, it's hard to say when exactly there's so much going on here, when exactly the change will be coming, but it feels like it's moving in the right direction. So
Hmm.
just stay in there and stay on target. What would you,
Right.
Anne, could you get more specific with her about the
Well, I
when
think,
and the where?
yeah, I think the when is, the eclipses are 4 and 10, and that's your career sector, and it's, so that's helpful. And then the big one, the new moon one, is at 29, right on the, on your fourth, between your fourth and fifth house cusp in Virgo,
Hmm.
29 Virgo, the one on the 21st. So
Hmm.
I'm looking at that one for you because the Jupiter, or the North Node's going through your career, your 10th house by transit, and you're going to have a nodal return next spring. So
Hmm.
you're in a whole new job by then. I think
That's
it's
what
a
I'm
couple
thinking.
things. It's a couple time,
Mm-hmm.
because Uranus is also on your Jupiter, and he's going to retrograde and gets there next April. So I would think by the end of April, you're kind of locked and loaded in the new thing. And it's a little bit like Goldilocks because you're going to get invited to do this, you're going to invited to do that. What feels right, and again, it's really working on an intuitive level. With that moon on the south node, you're done with some big chapter, but the moon is coming to Juno, so I'm going to be really curious about who shows up and wants to partner with you on something. Again, it can be an old person or it can be a person that you feel like you've known forever with that moon on
Hmm.
the south node.
Hmm.
So that's kind of
Hmm.
that's kind of a big thing. Yeah.
Hmm.
Hmm.
And that Uranus on your Jupiter, there's going to be, along with work, notice that everything that you're going through is helping you open up on an inner level.
Hmm.
That, you've got some work doing. She's got to talking about that. But there is seeing, normally this is not a particularly optimistic set of aspects. You've just had Pluto squaring your Venus for a couple of years. You've been through some tough aspects. That Uranus going back and forth over your Jupiter, I think, is going to open up something inside and help you feel more aligned with your work and your spiritual practice can work together, and that you're just feeling more philosophically optimistic, that
Right.
the grand trine that we're talking about with Mars and and Pluto is heading right into your Jupiter in the 12th house. And that Jupiter in the 12th house often gives you luck. That's, it's not the kind of, we say it's not the protective luck that keeps your tire from breaking down. It's that when your tire does pop on a deserted road, somebody comes along that can help you fix it. It's sort of
Hmm.
like, it's the guardian angel energy. So,
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and it is, that Uranus is setting off for Finger of God, which is
mhm,
not a classic one. It's the Jupiter in Gemini, quincunx the Venus in Libra, quincunx the Pluto in Sag. So, and they were all those last planets that were getting aspected by Saturn. So
mhm,
that's been
mhm,
kind of blowing up old situations, getting you out of relationships that you maybe were in, and now Uranus is going to come along and kind of pop in a whole bunch of new directions. And Alexandra, how you often get pulled in directions. That's from that finger of God. Heather called it your guardian angel. Jupiter in the 12th kind of acts as a protector,
mhm.
and so it will go, hey, we got a new job for you. We got a new thing. So you want to watch between now and October when Uranus goes back into Taurus, and then next April when it goes into Gemini for good for true for 8 years. But that
And
finger of God's very powerful in your
yeah.
chart, and that's the stuff you're not necessarily in charge of, but you get led to,
Mhm.
So
I would also say, don't wear out your guardian angels or that energy. Just, if you do your due diligence, then you get help. It's not something to just say, oh, they'll take care of me or my good luck will handle it. But you're a Scorpio, so I need to tell you that.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
So,
Mark, what do you see?
mhm,
I still see that nodal axis being really
mhm,
activated strongly,
Mhm.
and you'll get a good feeling from it. It's kind of
mhm,
like you'll settle into a cloud, and then it'll rain.
mhm.
So
Mhm.
it's gonna keep happening. You
Right.
settle in, you think everything is set. Glad I got through that,
Mhm.
and now I can relax. And you can relax for a short time, but then, like I say, it rains. And when
Right.
it rains, the cloud goes away, and you're
Mhm.
in free fall for a little while.
Mhm. Mhm.
But don't worry about it. To use it.
I think it'll be interesting.
Yeah, definitely a fun year for you. So
Okay, and our time is just about up. Mark, would you like to close with a full moon meditation for us? Just a moment to think about this Aquarius full moon coming up.
Yeah, think for a moment on the Aquarius full moon and realize that this one comes with a mystic rectangle that involves Pluto and Mars and Mercury and that Jupiter Saturn conjunction. So you can find ways to pull those energies together and form something that we haven't seen before. You haven't seen it, I haven't seen it, and it may not last long. It might be like blowing bubbles, but there's something in them. So watch, see what you see, and remember it, and it'll come up again.
yep.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And this goodbye from Heather Rowan Robbins in Montana. Remember, you can contact any of us for personal and in depth readings. And Mark?
Mark Wolf signing off from New Paltz, New York.
We love New Pulse. And
Yeah,
Anne here in my little pink bedroom, stretched out on my bed in a hot. Well, it's not that hot right now, but it's in New York, New York City.
Take care. See you next week.
yeah.
Bye.